Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone. Welcome to channel 15 of Swayam Prabha. The title of the course is Human Resource Management and the lecture title is Human Resource Planning. I am Dr. Shoma Sengupta, Associate Professor Commerce, Kamla Nehru College, University of Delhi. In Module 4, Lecture 2 of Human Resource Planning, we will cover the importance of human resource planning and the process of human resource planning. Significance of human resource planning. Human resource planning is very important for any organization. It helps organization to achieve its objectives because you have the right number and type of people doing the right job at the right time. It also identifies the gaps in existing manpower in terms of quantity as well as quality. So you can identify the shortage situation and the surplus situation well in advance and plan for it so that such condition never happens in the organization in the near future. Then it identifies the need for replacement of employees wherever it is required. It facilitates expansion and diversification. It reduces wastage of human resources. And in this manner, you can have a control over the wage and salary bills also. It helps in budgeting and controlling wage bill. So that was an outcome of the previous point only. And it helps management in taking timely action such as redeployment of surplus manpower. Again, it is related with reducing the wastage of human resources and also to ensure that there are no shortages and surpluses. Continuing with the significance of human resource planning, it facilitates career and succession planning. So this will be helpful not only for the organization because you can find out the potential of the employees and you can ensure a second level of managers or people to take up the higher position whenever the people from higher position vacate their positions. So that is beneficial for the organization. Also, it is beneficial for the employee because he can know that what is his growth potential in the organization. So it will motivate him to work harder so that he can be more productive for the organization and he can move up the ladder in his career. Then it helps to keep the organization abreast with the technological progress. So whatever technological progresses are happening which is making the old technology obsolete, so you can again prepare your human resources through adequate training for adoption of newer technology. It also facilitates management of physical facilities like restrooms, canteen, staff quarters, crashes, etc. So how many workers are working in an organization in different shifts, and accordingly what is the requirement of physical facilities, that also the data will be given or produced by the human resource planning only. Then at the national level also human resource planning facilitates employment generation, educational reforms, geographical mobility of talent, and balanced regional growth. So it helps governments at state level and central level to make plans to provide more and more employment to people. The growing significance of human resource planning. Naturally, the significance of human resource planning is increasing due to the changes which are taking place in the environment or which has taken place in the environment. One is the situation is growing unemployment. In such a situation, an organization will be considered as socially responsible if it can provide more and more employment opportunity to the people. So HRP may help in generating newer jobs. Whenever we are talking about expansion, diversification, we are creating newer jobs. So in a way you can contribute in reducing the unemployment in a country. Then shortage of skills, there is a shortage. Well, although we can say that in India we have the manpower to work on, and there is no shortage of employees, but actually when we find out, we find that skilled employees are very few in number, and it is very difficult to attract the talented people and retain them, because so many companies are actually, they are competing to get those human beings with the required skills. So there is a shortage of skill, and you have to plan well. Human resource planning comes handy in this, because that will give you the figures of recruitment required to be done, selection to be done, and also the training requirement. Then technological changes are happening, and it is quite fast nowadays. Technology is becoming obsolete. Every year we find a new type of technology is coming in. So human resource planning will give you an information in advance that what type of training is required, redeployment is required, retraining is required of employees. Then demographic changes are taking place. The composition of human employees in the organization is changing. More and more you will find that women employees are joining the organization. So they have specific requirement that their safety is of utmost concern for any organization. So you have to abide by different laws also related to employment of women workforce. Also you have to provide various facilities like maternity leave, and also pick up and dropping facility to women employees, as well as creche for the children of such employees. Then the organizational changes, the size of the organization is getting bigger and bigger. It is becoming huge when we talk about multinational organization. So there is no one to one relationship between the owners and the employees, or the management and the employees. So employees are working far away from the owners or the top management people of the organization. So it is very difficult to know the skill requirement of such employees, or the problems of such employees. And here again human resource planning comes into picture. Next factor is legislative controls. Now there are plethora of labor laws which are applicable on different types of industries. So you have to take care of that you are not violating any of the provisions of any of the act. So again human resource planning ensures that you are following the law of the land as well. Suppose if we talk about the say equal remuneration act, then it means that you have to provide equal remuneration for the same type of job to the men, or male or female employees. Likewise there are other factories act on which jobs you can employ only men, and not women can be employed. Because of the dangerous nature of that job, children cannot be employed. So these are legislative controls which have to be followed in the organization, and human resource planning helps in implementing those provisions. Then the pressure groups, like that trade unions are there who are fighting for the rights of the employees. So they are always keeping an eye on the management, whether they exploiting the workers in the name of human resource planning or any kind of scientific management. So you have to ensure that these pressure groups, we are satisfied also with your human resource plans, as well as the politicians, they are also keeping a watch on such organization. So human resource planning will ensure that everything is done objectively, and nobody is working overtime in the organization. Then the systems concept, which we have discussed earlier also, that organization should be considered as a whole unit, and each and every division is important. So when you are planning for the organization, human resource planning is done for the organization. It is for the whole organization, and not to benefit only one department or one unit. So next is hiring cost. Time and again we are saying that the wage bills and the salary bills are rising nowadays, and every organization tries to control such huge expenses. So And moreover, now when you are hiring people, that is again another thing, is the whole process is quite an expensive process, like recruitment, selection, training, and development. So one is the wages, and second is the corresponding employment expenditure. That means in the process of employment, the expenditures are mounting. So human resource planning will ensure that the hiring cost is kept to the minimum. Then the lead time. Now the time gap between people leaving the organization and person leaving the organization, and in his place a new person is recruited, since the process of recruitment selection is so long, that the lead time is increasing. That is the time between, as I told you, that person leaving the organization and the new person being placed in that job. So since the lead time is increasing, then what will happen? The productivity will suffer. So human resource planning, if you're doing in advance, then you can be saved from such a situation, that there will be no productivity gap because people are leaving the organization. You are already ready with people who are taking up these positions. Then mobility of employees. So this is again a thing, that now the employees are moving, they are from different towns and cities, and they are coming to the big cities, and they are working in the recent COVID-19 lockdown also. You have seen that, you have witnessed so many people, they are coming from different areas of the country to the big cities to work, and there is so much of mobility. Now human resource planning will ensure, if you have different divisions all over India, it will ensure that minimum mobility takes place, or wherever what type of skills are required, accordingly it should take place. Now we come to a very important portion of human resource planning, and that is the process of human resource planning. And this is very important from any examination point of view, the process of human resource planning. So we'll start with the first step, analyzing organizational plans. Now, as we have discussed, that the larger corporate plans or the strategic plans, they are the standard, and the human resource planning should blend with the organizational plans or the corporate plans or the strategic plans. So you have to, first of all, when you are starting your human resource planning, you have to thoroughly study the plans of the organization for that period of time, or the aim of the organization or the mission of the organization. All these things should be studied by the human resource planner. So the strategic plans concerning especially production technology, which you are going to use during a particular period of time, the marketing plans, the finance plan, expansion and diversification plan. So all these plans will have an impact on the number of people and type of people required during a particular period of time. So human resource planner will first of all identify and find out what are the new plans for these areas of the top management, and accordingly they will plan the number of people and type of people required. Also, what has to be kept in mind is the time horizon of the human resource plan, whether organization plan will be implemented next year, or within 5 years, or within the next 10 years. So that is the time horizon, and accordingly the human resource plan will also differ. So it may be a short term plan, it may be a medium term plan, or it may be a long term plan. Then the future organization structure and the job design, that has to be also studied, that what the organization is expecting, what type of structure it will have in near future, or what type of design of the jobs will be, like how the work will be done actually. That is the job design. So all these things have to be studied by the human resource planner. The second step of the process of human resource planning is forecasting demand for human resources, or manpower forecasting. As the name suggests, here it is a very crucial stage, because you have to find out the number and type of people required. Now this will depend upon two basic things, that is the incremental number of positions needed due to growth or diversification plans of the organization. So it is basically related with what the organization has planned for during a particular period of time. So if it is planning for growth and diversification, of course the number of people required will be more during that period of time. So that may be one reason for forecasting. So one of the factor which will affect your forecast. The next is the number of vacancies created due to different types of separations that have taken place, like the employee turnover figure will give it, maybe due to resignations or retirement or death, that people have left the job, and or there is a vacancy in the organization. So of, because of these two very important factors, that you need to forecast, otherwise there is no need. If the number of employee remains static year after year, then there is no need of a human resource planning at all. But this never happens in a big organization. Things will change, the number of people will required will of course change during a particular period of time. Every year it changes, and you have to forecast again. So this will give you, these two things will give you the figures like number of people required and the type of people required. This you will, the number you first we will identify, and then you will find out the skills required to complete different types of job. So that will give you the type of people required. Now various techniques are employed for forecasting the demand of human resources. The first one is the very simple one, managerial judgment. As the heading suggests, the managerial judgment, it is estimating on the basis of the knowledge and experience of the managers. So they have a long experience in the organization, so they know every year how many people they leave the organization, or the requirement how it increases, and on the basis of their past experience they can find out the number or the type of people required. So it is entirely based on judgment, and it is of course not that scientific, because of course not very objective also, since you are using judgment. But this is a very simple method, and it may give you the every time the estimates, it might be possible that they are correct. At least in a small organization, the chances of that being correct is more. So you don't have to waste your time in the long process of forecasting, and then finding out the supply and everything, because managerial or work study methods or any type of scientific management methods you need not use. So you are simply estimating, and on the basis of you are judging the demand for manpower. Now if you want to make it more objective, you can refine it through a little bit of work study, which can be done by your expert team. And also this also influences the judges the influence of the informal groups. Or, as I said, that this is the simplest method. So this is the advantage of managerial judgment method, that it is simple and it is time consuming, and in many small organizations they are depending on this method only to forecast the number and type of people required. The second method of forecasting demand is work study method, and this is an outcome of the scientific management technique of F.W. Taylor. Now, in work study, what we do, time and motion study is done, as was suggested by F.W. Taylor. Time and motion study is done to find out the standard time required per unit of work, and it is appropriate for repetitive and manual tasks where work is standardized and not changed frequently. So this type of job, for this type of manual task, repetitive task, you can use work study method. Now it needs a little bit of calculation. So I've taken one example. Suppose the planned output for a year is 1 lakh units, and the standard hours per unit is 5. So 5 hours are required to produce 1 unit. So planned hours required will be 1 lakh into 5, that is 5 lakh hours. Now if the productive hours per worker is 2000 during a particular year, during a year, now this is this you can find out through time and motion study. So that is the productive hour. Then the number of workers required will be, of course, planned hours required divided by productive hours per worker. So 5 lakh divided by 2000, it makes 250 workers. So 250 workers are required during a particular period of time, say next year. Now if the span of control, you know, the span of control, that is the number of employees reporting to one superior. So if the span of control is 5, that is 5 people reports to one superior, then the number of supervisors required will be 250 divided by 5, that is 50 supervisors. So what is happening here? We have found out that total 300 employees are required during the next financial year, say, for producing 1 lakh units. And the bifurcation, that is the type, number is 300 workers. The type of people required is 250 workers and 50 supervisors. So this is the work study method. This method is not that difficult to understand, but the only critical area is time and motion study, and which has to be done scientifically. And sometimes the trade union or the workers see that with suspicion, that is it so that you are increasing the standards, you are increasing the expectation from the employees, and they have to work harder for the same salary. So that is one glitch in work study method. Otherwise this method is more scientific. The next method of estimating human resource requirement or demand is ratio trend analysis. Now, ratios are calculated like total output to number of workers. Now, we will continue with the previous example with some changes. Say the number of workers to production level ratio is 250 to 1 lakh or 1 to 400 in the previous year. Number of supervisors to workers ratio is 50 is to 250 or 1 is to 5. Okay. Now, if estimated production next year is say 2 lakhs, so we have doubled the expected production for the next year. So the number of workers required, we are simply using this ratio of 1 is to 400 multiplied with 2 lakhs. So we find out that it has also doubled, that is 500 workers. Number of supervisors required will be also doubled. It will also double, like 500 into 1 by 5, that is 100 supervisors. So previously we required 250 workers and 50 supervisors for producing 1 lakh units, that is 300 employees altogether. But in the new situation, for double the production, 2 lakh units we are expecting to produce next year. So the number of workers have doubled to 500 and the number of supervisors required also doubled to 100. So it is now the total is 600 workers required during the next year. Now, this is also a simple method, and it is used in various organizations. Then the next or the last method of estimating demand is mathematical models. So different types of relationship between dependent and independent variables can be studied, and accordingly you can deduce or find out the number and type of people required. Also some difficult methods, some very important methods, statistical as well as mathematical models of regression, optimization models, probabilistic models, linear programming. This can be also used to find out the trend and find out the number and type of people required. Now, continuing with the second step only, and that is the second step was forecasting demand. We have found that there is quantitative aspect as well as qualitative aspect. So we can say first we will discuss the quantitative aspect, the work study method, ratio and trend method. All these have given you the quantitative figures. So the quantitative aspect is the total number of employees required during a particular period. So for that, information is required, that is company's future production and sales, which we have discussed earlier. Also overall organizational objectives. Now the methods of calculating, we have already seen the quantitative method. So here we are again saying that workload analysis, that is according to the number of units you are producing or the total volume of work, and on estimating the total volume of work and the number of people required or workers required on the basis of budgeted production or sales, that will give you the workload analysis, which we have already discussed under work study method. Now this is not a reliable one, totally reliable one, because there are certain external factors which may affect production. So as we have discussed that for 1 lakh, producing 1 lakh units, you require 250 workers and 50 supervisors, but there may be a change. Why? Because the environmental conditions may be different, the reality may be different. So then comes the workforce analysis, that is an analysis of existing workforce, the rate of absenteeism and forecasted vacancies. So it might be possible, though you have planned for total of 300 workers, that is 300 employees, that is 250 workers and 50 supervisors, but because of absenteeism, because of people leaving unexpectedly, and that's why the productivity may suffer. So you may take care of that in advance. Say, we can say that there can be, say, 10% loss of workers during a particular period of time because of absenteeism or vacancies. So you can add that also to the estimate. So suppose the total is 300, so you need 30 more employees at different positions so as to work smoothly during a particular period of time. So that 10% extra, how you found out? Through workforce analysis. Then also mathematical, statistical and econometric models, as we have discussed earlier also, that can also be used to find out the number of people required. So this is the quantitative method of or quantitative aspect of human resource planning. Now, when we talk about the qualitative aspect of human resource planning, we have to assess the type of people required or the quality of manpower required on the basis of various attributes, like the qualification at different positions, what type of qualification the employee should possess, experience that they should have, their aptitude required to different types of job. So that is, these are all qualitative aspects. Now this varies from job to job. So for different job, there will be different requirement of qualification, experience and aptitude. Now how you will find out? For that, extensive study has to be done of the job and of the type of people required. So we then depend on job analysis and job design so as to find out what the job actually is and what type of qualification an employee should possess to perform that task. So that is like, suppose the job is of accounting job, the qualification of the person who will be doing this accounting job may be a bachelor in commerce or some accounting knowledge, or he may be a chartered accountant. So this gives you an idea about the type of people required or the quality of which the employee must possess. Now, continuing with the process of human resource planning, if you remember, the first step we have said that you have to study the organizational plan. Second step was that of estimating the demand of manpower during a particular period of time. The third step is forecasting supply of human resources. Now, for that, you have to check the present inventory of people that you have in the organization. Already they are recruited in the organization. So the number of employees available at the end of the year, this you can use a formula that it is equal to the number of employees available at the beginning of the year plus addition to the pool and minus the losses due to separation, that is retirement, resignation and death. Now this will give you an idea about the number of employees available at the end of the year. Now this is quantitative. The qualitative aspect as well as the quantitative can be found out through different methods like head count, job family inventory, age inventory, skill inventory, expected loss of manpower. Now in the third step, basically you have found out the number of people or type of people already employed in the organization. In the fourth step, that is estimating manpower gap, you will compare the second step, that is demand as well as the third step, that is supply. So these two figures you will compare. So comparing demand forecast with supply forecast, that we do in this stage. Then the fifth stage is action planning. So when you compare the two figures, the demand may be more and the supply may be less. If this is situation 1, if demand is more and supply is less, that means there is a gap. So you have to fill that gap through recruitment, selection, training, development, placement and all. Now if the third step figure, that is supply, is more than the demand, so the reverse is the case, that is there is a surplus situation. So what will you do? You will offer them VRS, that is voluntary retirement scheme, or redeploy them or retrench them. So that is the plan. So according to whether there is a surplus situation and shortage situation, you have to plan your next move, or plan recruitment, selection and other processes. Now action planning is very important, otherwise the whole of the exercise will be futile. So if you have got the demand figure, supply figure, but you are not doing anything to change the situation, then naturally the objective of human resource planning will not be fulfilled. So action planning is must. And the last step is monitoring and control. That means you have taken the action plan, but you have to look back also. You have to review, you have to regulate the structure, the HR structure, the systems, whether your whole of the system of human resource planning was going well or not. That you can find out when you can check the productivity or job satisfaction of employees, or the situation in different departments, whether the human resource plans are well implemented and giving the good results or not. So accordingly you will review and you can make changes again in the human resource plans. So now this, to summarize the module 4 lecture 2, what we can say is human resource planning helps organization to achieve its objectives and ensure optimum utilization of human resources. Human resource planning is gaining in significance due to the changes in the environment, and the human resource planning process includes analyzing organizational plans, forecasting demand for human resources, forecasting supply of human resources, estimating manpower gaps, action planning, and monitoring and control. Now, the references are Ashwathappa's book on human resource management, C.B. Gupta's book on modern human resource management. Thank you, students. So, this was module 4, lecture 2.